Fuck yeah, I wish. I was kind of jealous that Edmund got to go, and I didn't. I was like, man, that was nice. That was nice. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and you can see how pumped up you were about that. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
see, because it's one of those things you spend. I don't think people understand. You guys spend weeks training up to this fight.
How did you balance being a high school student with all the training that you were doing? Even before, I think you started a job now, but even before that, like how did you balance that, and how did the training that you were doing compare to like other kids or your friends who had nothing to do with MMA or that kind of sport? How the
that
comparison feel?
that was really hard for me to learn how to do.
Welcome to the Warrior's Way Home podcast.
What up, guys? What makes a young man more confident, being able to command respect of the people around him, and become more disciplined and be able to tame his mind and his body? The answer to that is punch people in the face and then you slam them on the ground. That's how you do it. I just playing guys, but no, that's a big piece in what we're talking about today, man. And why is it important for us as men? The younger we can as possible getting into martial arts, and why and how it helps us on the path to becoming the men we want to be. It's a very important thing and subject we definitely wanted to talk about with our special guest today.
Yeah, man. So who we have here today is Ethan Ainsworth, or Ethan in Hollywood Ainsworth,
Hollywood.
who has just made his first amateur debut in an MMA circuit and wants to go pro. He's fresh out of high school, just turned 18. He's been fighting in Kudo in the junior in the junior division for actually crushing the junior division in several over the next, what was it? It's been 3 years total because you won the TBA World MMA champion, or I'm sorry, the Muay Thai Championship, the World Kudo Championship in Japan, the Kudo Pan American Championship in Mexico. I know that was maybe 2 years ago, and then the National Kudo Champion in Chicago, and the championship in Chicago, which qualified you for Bulgaria, which is happening in like 2 weeks.
Yep. Yep.
So
So he's been punching people in the face for many moons.
for many
Yeah.
moments, man. It's been crazy. It's been crazy
Yeah,
to be
man.
with you on this journey. I want to just introduce Ethan Ainsworth. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. We just got out of a pretty intense training session. I'm training so much. Oh my God, 6 days a week, and even
Yeah.
on that seventh day, I'm still doing something, whether it's my mind or you know. Um, Man, I love fighting though. I love
Yeah.
doing all
Man,
this.
y'all were getting it, man. Y'all were getting it. I came in right after they were finishing up, man. Everybody's like sitting in puddles of sweat. You could smell the work when you walked in.
Yeah.
If you've been into a dojo before and you came in right after a training session, you get that mist as you walk in the door. Yeah,
It,
you
it's
you if,
it's not a
if you know,
mist, it's
you
a
know.
funk.
If you know.
Mhm.
Well, I was trying to be nice about it. I was but if you know, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%,
especially
man.
especially with how hot it's been in Colorado lately. So
Yeah.
that's definitely making it worse.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, man? How did you get into fighting? What made you want to start? What is your routine like? How did you get to be 5-time champ or a champion in 5 different, like, consecutive? It's not even been a break, man. It's been back to back to back.
hmm Kind of to make a long story short, I had like anger issues as a kid growing up, and so my parents put me in like anger management and whatnot, and they were this lady was just like try boxing, and I ignored it for like 2 years, and then all of a sudden
Mm,
one day, I remembered she said that I was struggling, and I had my first day at Ironforge martial arts, and kind of just spun off from there, and I realized how much I loved it and everything. But
nice one.
yeah,
Nice. When you say you had anger issues, most of us who have struggled with the anger issues, we tend to probably get into more fights than most. Were you fighting quite a bit as a kid too before you got
I've
into
uh
boxing and all that?
I've never been in any sort of fight outside of the ring ever.
Okay,
It was more so anger issues with myself, my self image,
gotcha.
and stuff like that. I was a teen, the hormones and everything probably didn't help either. But
Man, oh
I
man, terror.
yeah,
It rains terror, bro. Especially
oh
especially
yeah,
dudes. Oh man.
Yeah.
hmm
Well, I
yeah,
know I was a hell on wheels for my mom, probably, man. I was like, me, anger, and hormones plus girls. You
Yep.
throw that in the mix, man.
Yep. Yep.
That's a, whew, yeah, that's a rough time.
No,
Good luck
yeah.
at them with the boys.
Yeah. So
Oh,
did you try
man.
did you play any sports previously to boxing?
So I grew up in Europe for most of my life. I lived in Belgium for
Okay.
8 years as a child, so it was a lot of soccer or a lot of football over there.
Mm.
Um, so that's pretty much what I started with as an early athlete, and
Mhm.
kind of once I moved back here, I kind of moved away from that, picked up some basketball. I played football for the first time my senior year, but
Mm,
but I was kind of like I was one of those kids that kind of did a mix of everything. So
Mhm.
okay.
yeah.
Nice, man. Nice. That's what's up. Yeah, that's one, man. You're, jeez. Parents in the military, or how did you get overseas?
So my dad worked for the military as a civilian.
Okay,
I can't for the life of me remember what he did over there because I was still a kid.
gotcha.
Yeah.
But so he landed a really good job, and we got to experience that and travel and stuff. So it was really cool. My
Okay,
mom was mostly a stay-at-home mom growing up. So
Mhm.
gotcha. Nice. So speaking of family, were you are you like one of the only ones in your family who's gotten into martial arts, or is that kind of in the blood for you?
I'd say I'm the only really athlete in the family. My whole family is athlete. We're all like 6 foot plus and whatnot. And so, my older brother, he joined the army. He loves doing all that stuff. He's active, but he's not exactly an athlete like me, I would say. And
Gotcha.
my younger siblings, we all played sports, but I'm the only one who's really taking it seriously. So,
Okay.
um, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
feel
and
that.
it becomes a different thing, man, for sure. Because even when you start getting into, I think we talked about it at the gym. People ask like, why would you want to go have people punch you in the face for fun? And it's like, dude, it's hard to explain to people.
It's
Like
so hard.
once you start getting into it, it's like it's something about it, man. It's like because it's you're not just getting punched in the face, you're also punching. It's a challenge for yourself is the
Yeah.
biggest thing.
The the
We always say it. You're fighting yourself more than anybody else.
the biggest thing I'd say about that is it's real. You step in
Yes.
the ring, you get hit in the face. That's the realest feeling you'll ever feel, and
Mhm.
that's why I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
man.
turns down the volume on a lot of other stuff. I like to I put it in context of like me having to work like the regular 9 to 5 or being in either the corporate world or nonprofit. It doesn't really matter. It's just like the job, right? People get a lot of anxiety around sending emails or asking what they need at work, and they just put a lot of tension into like the day-to-day mundane stuff. If you go to a gym and you're sparring for an hour straight, or you're carrying weights up a hill, or you're doing suicides in the back in the back alley like we did the other week, it's just kind of, it puts all that stuff in perspective. It's like, this email doesn't matter, this whatever my boss is ticked off about doesn't, it's not really about me, it's about something in the business. And like you're saying, like it's so real, where I feel like that anxiety really gets turned down. Do you feel like even at your age that's how it is for you too?
Yeah, going back to when I had anger issues, that's gone.
Yeah.
Like I've never been more of a calm person ever since I started training.
Hmm.
I go into that gym, and it's a whole separate family and a whole separate experience, and just I don't have any problems when I'm in there, and it's really nice to be able to use that as kind of like an outlet.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think people don't really understand. They assume when people get into martial arts or combat sports or anything like that, that it's like, oh, you're a violent person. It's like, man, some of the calmest, chillest people we've ever I know I've ever met have all been in martial arts. It's usually the people who don't train in combat sports that usually have are the ones who have a lot of anger problems, are fighting all the time and everything like that. Most of the martial artists I know who have met over my life really don't get into fights like you said outside of the gym unless they absolutely have to.
Hmm.
And even then, they walk away from way more than they end up getting into it. It's just it's almost like a quieting of the mind when you really start getting into it. It just you find peace through that fire for some
Hmm.
reason.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you've been able to gain multiple championships before you even turned 18, and now you're stepping into the cage for the first time. By the way, again, congratulations for those who haven't seen your victory. with Sparta. 1 minute and 11 seconds in the first
Woo.
round, dude. Like, what kind of feeling is that? And then we'll get into kind of what drove you to be so competitive so early? You know what I mean?
Man, the feeling of getting that win, um, it's one of the craziest feelings, and even as a kid at 16 winning in Japan on like a stage in an arena that can hold 11,000 people, like that's still the craziest feeling. And every time it happens, it just gets better and better. Um, yeah. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
What drove you? You talked about like how addictive that kind of feels to be for you, and I can see it. Like, I've been there for a couple of your victories, man, and it's like it's like one of those Hollywood moments. It's like one of those Rocky moments. You know what I mean? Like, but how did that first win make you feel, and then kind of what is that? How does that drive you when you think about a new competition, a new fight coming up? How does that drive you to try to match that same feeling?
Well, so when I first started fighting, my very first ever Muay Thai fight, I remember going into the fight thinking like, I'm gonna learn. I want to learn. I want the experience. And I got my
Mm.
butt whooped. I go in the second time, and I
Yeah.
had that same mindset like, I'm still learning. It's okay. Blah blah blah. And I got my butt whooped again. And then from then, I just had this whole complete like switch where it was like I realized how much I wanted it, and that hunger kind of grew and grew. And then immediately after that, where I won my first Muay Thai title, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just like, I want this, and that complete shift in my mindset. And then
Mm-hmm.
ever since then, every single win, my hunger only grows. Every single fight camp, I'm working 10 times harder
Yeah.
than I was in the last one, and so my hunger will continue to grow until I'm a world champion on national television. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, man. I got a chance to peep that last fight you had, bro. That was nice.
Oh
That that
yeah.
that finish. I was like, oh, I could feel it through the screen. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I wish I was kind of jealous that Edmund got to go, and I didn't. I was like, man, that was nice. That was nice. Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah.
you could see how pumped up you were about that. You can
Mm-hmm.
see because it's one of those things you spend. I don't think people understand. You guys spend weeks on weeks on weeks training up to this fight to have and it can go for I think what the championships fights are 5 minutes and the regular fights are 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So you train for weeks and the fight can end within that first 3 minutes, like yours did, within that first 3 minutes. So you could train for 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
it lasts 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's like it's almost like this pressure builds up, from what you see with fighters, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like it all gets released in that moment. And bro, it's that energy that fills the room is
Mhm.
there's a reason it's one of the most popular sports coming up in the world right now.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
How did you balance being a high school student with all the training that you were doing? Even before, I think you started a job now, but even before that, like, how did you balance that? And how did the training that you were doing compare to like other kids or your friends who had nothing to do with, MMA or that kind of sport? How did the
that
comparison feel?
that was really hard for me to learn how to do because I was not a very good student at all. C, maybe B at best.
Hmm.
I hated school. It was terrible. You gotta at least graduate high school. But
Yeah.
You're in good company. Don't worry about it. I don't
but
know how I graduated, so it's fine.
that learning to be able to balance school on top of fighting and how it affected everything else, it was really really hard for me because I think the biggest part was I was still learning and currently am still learning who I am as a
Hmm.
person
Hmm.
and who I wanted to be. And so I was stuck in that, like, what kind of career did I want, whatever. And so there was a lot of pressure with getting a real job or getting, fighting people because that's a really hard decision to make at such a
Yeah.
young age because there's all this
Hmm.
pressure.
Hmm.
Um, but it kind of affected some of my relationships too because people have tried to fight me just because they knew that
Oh,
I
Yeah.
fought and they were hotheads and just wanted to test themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, I walked away every time, of course. Like I even had teachers, you know, like openly root for me while someone is pressing me. That's a whole nother story.
Wow.
Like
Wow. Yeah.
Standing behind you, get him.
Right.
no, he literally, like, this
They
guy
wanna
was getting in my
slide.
face. So I was like, whatever. And he
Mhm.
goes, my money's on Ethan. And it was like the substitute teacher. I
Don't
swear.
start shit.
That actually
He's
happened.
hyping it up.
Yeah.
It was bad. I had to leave at that point. I went to the office and I let him know. I was like, hey, I don't want to hurt this guy. Like,
Yeah.
That would be
Wow.
me as a substitute teacher. I would probably be back there hyping it. I'd be the hype man for sure. Back there, like, come on, man. It's like just just a little bit. Just go behind the dumpsters. It's fine. I won't say nothing. That's why I don't teach.
But I think that speaks to your maturity at this age too, because you've told me some stuff previously about how kind of what got you into fighting in the beginning, but there, and when you're in high school, there is so much testosterone buzzing around. There's so many, especially when you're playing football or any type of sport where that can make you popular, that can make you kind of big guy, big dog on campus. But you're walking away from fights instead of feeding into it and kind of feeding into your ego, man. That's hard to do. That's hard to do for adults because, as you can see, a substitute teacher would be like, "Yo, I kind of want to see this," but but that in that instance, you're being more mature than the guy who's supposed to be teaching you something. You know what I mean? So like how hard is that for you, knowing that you still have all of this time before you really become an adult, but you're still doing so well?
I think fighting has really brought this level of maturity to me.
Mhm.
And I see it all the time when I'm with people my age, and I can just feel it. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be that guy where I'm like, I'm more mature than everyone else, haha. But like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, and I could feel it. I just fighting has brought this like sense of like calmness to me, where I've already proved myself in the ring.
Yes.
Mhm.
I don't need to prove anything else if someone's getting in my face
Right.
in the real world, unless it's literally life or death. Like,
hmm
it's never worth it.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Man, I applaud you on that, bro. We say that so much. Is like training and fighting teaches you what you're capable of. So when you do go out here and you meet a lot of guys who the reason why they are so quick to fight is because they don't know what they're capable of. They haven't been tested. But when you're in the dojo and you're going on a regular basis, you're doing 12 5-minute rounds in a day, and getting tossed around the room or tossing people around the room. You figure out real quick, what you're capable of and how you can do things. And like you said, it becomes one of those things where it's just not worth it. I actually had Edmund and I were talking about. I had a situation at work where a guy walked up on me, and I'm like, bro, it's not even gonna be worth it. It's not even gonna be a good time. One, so why would I even do this? But man, one thing that I think a lot of us in martial arts learn really don't expect to learn is getting humbled.
Mhm.
It's one of those things that, and all of us have probably seen it. There's always that cocky guy that comes in, maybe thinks he can fight or thinks he can do something, and that guy tends to get humbled real quick. And either he, brings himself down and becomes more humble and actually really starts to pick up the game and work with everybody, or he leaves, never goes back.
Mhm.
What's been one of the most humbling situations you've experienced since you've been in martial arts?
There's so many. Oh God, especially as a young kid who
Yeah.
didn't know how to stop. But I mean, like it's a weird feeling getting
Mm.
absolutely mauled by some guy named Joe who has work at 4 a.m. the next morning, and it has 3 kids or whatever. And it's like, it's the weirdest feeling. But as far as like humility or being humbled, like ever since I started training at 15, getting to be humbled every day, I feel like that's something that just really builds your character and who you are.
hmm
I always do my best to stay as humble as possible, whether it's in the ring or out the ring. Um, that the guy I fought, his whole family was talking trash. He was talking trash to my family, and no matter how much I wanted to say something, I didn't have to because broke his face, you know. But
I think your knee did the talking for you, man.
yeah.
There was no words needed. It was like everybody saw the results of
Exactly. Yeah.
of what was happening. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah. So man, I feel you on that, bro. It's like it. It's, the minute there's always another level. The minute we think we've reached the top, it's like then next thing you know, something else happens. You're like, oh, never mind. I'm still new.
Yep.
I was like, oh, it's always day one. It's always day one. And there's always a bigger dog.
Mhm.
It's always a bigger dog ready to maul your ass real quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then go home to his 4 kids and his wife.
Yeah. Oh.
So
man.
you're competing in Kudo and MMA. How often are you going to kind of do both? And for those who don't know, what is your perspective on the difference between the two?
I think the difference between the two is mainly the Budo aspect of it.
Mhm.
And because Kudo really emphasizes being humble and respecting your opponents and having humility and having honor and respect. Whereas MMA, a lot of it is just selling tickets, right?
Mm.
And so it
Conor
doesn't
McGregor.
matter. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't matter what kind of person you are if you're selling tickets.
Mm.
Mhm.
And so that's why I kind of fell in love with Kudo, because it really aligns with what kind of person I want to be inside and out the ring. And so I'll always bring that into the cage whenever I fight in mixed martial arts,
Mhm.
no matter what. So
Yeah, man. That's definitely I see that difference because especially in the early days of UFC, and I'm more thinking about when I was watching it heavy with like Anderson Silva and Lyoto Machida and Brock Lesnar when he started rolling in there. But some of the like you could see the range of different guys that where you could be a lot more cocky like Conor McGregor, and throwing chairs at buses and stuff, and just like whatever puts butts in seats. But then you have the guys like Anderson Silva who could be a little showy, but they would still show respect to their opponent, no matter if they were champion or not. And then I like Lyoto Machida, who like he bows to everybody. It's never about the showboating. It's always about the work, that he does. When you picture yourself in the ring or like UFC or like the big like professionally, what do you see yourself like? How do you see yourself in that moment?
I think there's a lot of things to consider. Like what kind of character are you portraying to sell tickets? There's the good guys and there's the bad guys, and then they kind of have like the miscellaneous, like the goofy guys or
Mhm.
It's all
all that
WWE.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
and
got to put the
that's
heels and the villains and
yeah,
all that
but
good stuff.
that's
We
how
need to
it
get you a
is though.
mask. We need to get you a Lucha Libre mask when you come out next time for your next fight.
Oh, that would be awesome. I'd do that. But yeah, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, he was asking, what kind of
What kind of
persona
professional do you want to be?
do you want to put
Oh,
out, when
Yeah.
you're coming out
um
with your career?
Yeah.
I've always been more on the goofy side. It,
Mm.
like branching off from that, because like when me and Ed are sparring, I don't stop talking. I do not stop talking, and I love it. And it's never anything mean, but I just love talking. I love messing with people and getting in people's heads, and I never
Mhm.
take anything seriously. Like you see the video of me right before I walk in, I'm sitting there smiling and talking to my trainers and whatever, because it's just
Mhm.
that's just who I am as a person. I've always been that goofy guy, inside and out the ring. But um,
100%.
yeah.
100%. Hey man, I'm gonna be honest. It's like I'm pleasantly surprised. I hadn't checked out a lot of your stuff, and I was wondering. I was like, okay, is young guy also fighting? He's had quite a bit of success in his fighting so far. It's like, is he gonna be cocky? Me and you haven't had. I just met you today,
Hmm.
at the gym. So it's like, okay, how's this guy gonna be? He's gonna be like. I was wondering, like, is he gonna be a Conor McGregor? Is this like, or is he gonna be this type of dude? It's like, how's this
Hmm.
gonna go? What kind of guy am I about to meet here? It's like, but dude, it's like, to be honest, man, you are very, especially for your age, you're extremely level headed, bro. And I'm
Mhm.
gonna tell you this ahead of time, just so if you're not aware of it already, you are gonna have a lot of young guys looking up to you. I could tell that already. If you don't already have that, you need to prepare yourself because you are going to have that. And that's not to put any pressure on you or anything like that. It's just to let you know that the way you move and the way you carry yourself, I could already tell you're going to be one of those guys that has a lot of guys looking up to him. So if you could speak to maybe some young guys that were going through some of the same things that you were going through when you were, 16, 17, getting into martial arts, what advice would you give to them? What would you have told what advice do you wish you had gotten as that younger self, that younger guy in their situation?
That's a good question.
Take your time.
I think that, I already have lots of younger kids who already look up to me in this gym that I train at. And I do my best to show them who they can be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so what I would say to them, or anyone else trying to get into fighting or struggling with anything I was struggling with, find an outlet. But you can't rely on that outlet either, if that makes sense. Because
can't be the end all be all.
Every time I get angry or every time I get upset, I go into the gym and I take it out on, some people. What happens when I go back home, right? I think that it's good to find an outlet, but also, find some way to talk about it or figure out ways to be healthier, whether it's in your mindset or you're going to the gym more or you're eating better. Even the little things, making your bed in the morning.
Yep.
And it's hard. None of that's easy. It's hard. It's so hard. But I just think take those little steps, and those little steps will take you farther than any big leap you feel like you have to take.
Definitely.
I feel like a lot of. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, man, because with this month being Men's Mental Health Month and everything like that, we tend to talk a lot about that, how martial arts has helped us along our journey with our mental health, or for me dealing with depression and suicidal tendencies and different things like that, and how I fully admit martial arts has saved my life, has kept me out of jail and from the grave. This is 100%. But like you said, man, it's one of those things. If you can't have this be the end all be all for you, because you end up doing the same thing as if people who get addicted to like alcohol, or people who get addicted to drugs. You can get addicted to going to the gym. You can get addicted to martial arts and fighting and doing these different things like that. But what happens if you can't do that anymore? It's like, you have those athletes who their whole life, their whole being is being in the NFL or being in the NBA. And then for whatever reasons, either they mess it up or something else happens or life just happens and that stops. And you see their life turn into chaos because that's all they had. Is like, so like you said, you got to be able to, find, have this healthy thing, this healthy outlet, but also transition that into working on yourself. Don't just use it as like an addiction or a substitute for, the thing that you're running from. Don't run from something. Run to something. Don't run from your problems and go to the gym thinking that's going to fix it. Because when you get home, like you said, they're still going to be there waiting on you. They're not going anywhere. So yeah, man, I definitely fully agree with what you just said. So appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hey, bro.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man. How'd that meeting with your boss go, man? You were asking about that raise, weren't you?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, man, but we had a lot of meetings recently, so it's been hard to kind of like, get her to sit down with me. But I'm working on it.
Yeah, that sounds like a damn excuse to me, bro. Because you were all hype about it last time we talked about it. When we talked about it last week, I'm gonna march right into her office and look her dead in the eyes and demand what I'm owed.
You supposed to remember that.
This is what I do.
It's just she's busy. She a director, so I gotta wait. I gotta just wait my time and just get in there when I can.
Nah, man, you gotta show her, man. You gotta command that respect. We got this course. We're teaching guys how to elevate themselves, take themselves to the next, that next level in their life and their business and their career.
Yeah.
And you sitting there talking about ducking your boss, asking for what you want.
All right. So I'm gonna meet with her on Monday. Okay, give me a couple days. I'll meet with her on Monday. First thing Monday.
You know what happens if you don't? Penalty box, baby.
Right. Okay.
Burpees.
No
Love
burpees.
'em.
No burpees for me. I don't want
Love 'em.
burpees. So look, I know you've been in this scenario before. It's hard to ask somebody who you think is above you for the respect that you need and what you're asking for, whether it's resources, a raise, or respect. What you can do is start to build that self-respect that you need in our 8 Inner Gates course. Join us and go through 8 different principles where you can start to develop honor, respect, integrity, compassion for yourself and for others, and lots of other things as well. So make sure to hit the link in the bio where you can get to our 8 Inner Gates course and start to become the well-rounded man that you need to be in life. One thing I've also kind of thought about recently, some of the things that we use to calm ourselves down in those kind of moments, that things that can keep us level-headed, can also kind of be an escape. I remember when I was meditating super heavy, I was trying to go for I was setting personal records where I would be totally still for an hour, and I would not be thinking about my issues, but when I woke back up, I was still in them. I didn't come up with a solution while I was trying to, be all zen and be calm. And yeah, the answer can come to you in those moments, but if you're not acting on them, or if you're not actively looking for that answer while there's just a lot of different escapes that people can take. You know what I mean? So even when you're having more calming hobbies, let your brain do the work. You know what I mean? Be able to work through it at the same time. So like how you're saying, fighting can be obviously very good for you, but also a little bit more dangerous if you're not having it checked with something else in that balance. Do you think, even at your age, that is it balance that you're trying to seek as far as like what you're going to be doing externally, or is it more like a harmony? Like you want everything in your life to be on the same page the way that you're living it, or how do you see that end goal? Does that make sense?
Could you reword that a little bit?
Yeah, I got you. How do you see harmony versus balance in what you're doing right now?
For me, I want to have my life as balanced as possible. That means I want to be able to go to the gym. I want to be able to go to work and make my money. I want to have time, for my girlfriend on the side, whatever,
Let's say
my
the
friends on the
ladies.
side. Yeah, dude. I want to have time for my family and see my family, but also I need to have time for myself because that's also very important.
Mhm.
And so I think balance brings harmony in the sense of how you go about it.
Yeah.
If there's any way I could balance my life out more, I will do my best to make that happen because I think I'm trying to keep everything healthy, not just my body. I'm trying to keep my mind as healthy as possible. And, there's going to be some stresses or whatever, but I really, I really value having balance and harmony in my life. So
For sure.
For sure. Yeah, man, we did an episode actually on that. We were talking about when we talk about balance, people think of it as everything staying stable, but a lot of times it's like a seesaw. So there's going to be times when and a lot of guys don't really. I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've had plenty of conversations between Mario and Edmund and your coaches and different things like that. Be like, hey, bro, there's gonna be times where it's like when you're putting a lot of time into what you're shooting for, like so that big goal of professional fighting, you're on that world stage, wearing that championship belt, which I can't wait to see. Super excited for that shit. I'm gonna be up there cheering super fucking hard. But there's gonna be times where a lot of those other areas in your life are gonna have to kind of take a back seat for times. But you just kind of teeter it out. It's almost like a teeter totter. It's how it ends up being. So a lot of it's just being okay with knowing that for certain portions of time, life's going to be out of whack in certain areas. And it's like, okay, hey, this isn't quite where I needed to be. I'll work on it, but I know I'm good here. I just need to work on this a little bit. So I think a lot of times guys can struggle with it for sure. Especially when we're younger, still trying to figure out our way in life and like you said, figure out who we are too at the same time. There's older guys still trying to do that shit, man. I know 40-year-old men who have fallen off that teeter totter way too many fucking times. Yeah. Hey man, so if you could fight anybody in history, dead or alive, and you had the opportunity to get in and do, let's say, one round with them, and you would survive, let's say, who would it be?
Oof. That's a good.
I know I'm good like that.
There's no, I know. There's there's a lot of really good fighters that I would go with. I might. I might have to say maybe Wonderboy Thompson.
Okay.
Just because I really agree with the way he sees life and the way he sees fighting.
Okay.
And that would be a lot of fun because he is very tricky
Yeah.
and I think I could really see how my striking would go up against someone like that of that caliber.
Okay.
And maybe I'll make a new friend, who knows, but
I can see you two getting along.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
But I think
become sparring buddies. Yeah, that'd be dope.
I think he'd probably be like my dream fight, I guess. Is the way
Okay.
I'd say it.
Nice.
Okay.
What about you, Edmund? I'm gonna ask you the same question. What about you? Who would your dream
I
fight be?
know. I was trying to think about it. Honestly, mine is kind of in the same vein. I have two. If I'm going with pure boxing, because I've thought about this before. If I'm going just boxing, Muhammad Ali, because
I knew you were gonna say
we
that.
have the probably similar reach. Yeah, it's and the way I've always tried to not emulate like step for step, but I've always tried to kind of think about him when I'm sparring, especially when the way that I move and kind of cut angles and stuff like that, and kind of be fast with it. I don't talk shit as much as Ethan does, but I do like being able to smile while I'm sparring, and it's because it feels good because like, oh, he almost got me, but I was just out the way, so like, oh, I landed this, but he didn't have an answer for it. So yeah, it's like that. That's how I get my confidence sometimes. It's like just through that sparring, and that's how I kind of feel. But the other one would be the founder of Kudo, and I don't know why I'm blank. Azuma Jukucho, because the sport of Kudo is only 10 years older than I am. You know what I mean? So to be able to be around somebody who was able to like not invent but help innovate a sport that I was already super interested in with Kyokushin, and then be able to see like, okay, I taught you everything you need to know about this thing, and then he was sent out to he incorporated boxing, Muay Thai, judo, wrestling, whatever he thought was going to be able to work with it, and like that's his version of Jeet Kune Do, but it's more for karate. And I was like, man, that would be just to get into, and he was like successful with it to the point where yeah, Japan like loves Kudo, but Russia is like the number two where this thing got adopted, and probably because of Sambo. But it's just like, man, to be able to just cross fists with somebody who innovated a martial art enough to the point where like we got into it,
Yeah.
that's dope. You know what I mean? Just one round is fine. Just something I can learn real quick.
You're making me want to change my answer because that's a really good that is a really good answer.
All right, let's throw it up. Let's say the top two people. So you got Superboy. Who would be your second one?
I definitely what Ed just said because I completely agree with everything he just said. To be able to spar with someone or fight someone who literally created a whole new generation of fighters would be amazing. I get my butt whooped. Don't get me wrong. I get my butt whooped so bad.
Yeah.
But it would be so inspiring to get my butt whooped by someone of that caliber who was able to inspire a whole new generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a chance to see him. He had the first like the U.S. team was trying to get a team together to go to like I guess it was Japan. I'm not sure, but the one time I got to see him was in Columbus, and he was like having the whole event. And this is before I even got into it. But my buddy who got me into it, he was like competing to be a part of that team, and JD can tell you he got to go. But man, just even to be that close, to be in the same room as somebody like that, bro, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. What about you, Travis? Who's your two?
Oh man, Yujiro Hama. No, man, my first one would probably be it'd be Mike Tyson.
I saw that coming too.
My first one would probably be Mike Tyson. it probably would last about 30 seconds, but it'd be the best fucking 30 seconds ever. and as you guys are stitching my head back onto my body, I'd have the biggest smile on my face.
Right.
Mainly just because, man, just he was just peak Mike Tyson, not like Mike Tyson now. Even though now he probably still whip my ass.
Yeah.
But he was just such a force who just changed the way the world saw a heavyweight fighter. And it's like, and it almost seemed like every opponent he had towered over him. So me being on the shorter side is like, I'm an infighter, and most of my game is like Mike Tyson. So seeing the way he moves and the way he goes about things, the way he approaches, the art of fighting, and how much he studied it too. Because I wouldn't just want to just fight him. I would honestly want to have a conversation with him, because the amount of knowledge that man has on fighting, how much studying he do. He is a student of the art. He's not just a fighter. He is definitely, a student, a master of this thing, because of how much time he put into it, and how much dedication he put into this thing. And just seeing somebody dedicate their whole being and their whole life to it, man, it's always inspired me. It's honestly inspired me more to hear him talk about fighting than actually see him fight, because just how all of him is in it. How it talks about, it's giving him everything he's wanted, but it's also a guy who had to fight his demons along the way in the process. So I always just found that super inspiring. So that would be one. The second one would probably be, man, Miyamoto Musashi.
So you just want to get cut in half, then?
Pretty much, yeah.
That's instant death. We were talking about barehanded. You throwing weapons in here now, like.
Well, the reason I say Miyamoto Musashi is because it's a different time frame. Is like now, now we talk more about like all the sport of things. Like with them, this was for survival. It's like, because I think the big thing a lot of people forget is martial arts. Its basis was war. This was for war. This was for survival. Yes, it was for disciplining the mind and the body and everything like that. But in a lot of cases, it was used so that you survive what you found yourself in. So you survive the times. You protect your family. If you go to battle, you want to be able to come back. So you had to hone your skills in a completely different kind of way. And and him doing so many duels to the death, in many cases, the way he did it, I just want to know, like, what is his mindset like? Because we did a whole series on the Dokudo, and just reading some of the stuff he's written, and knowing that this guy did, like I said, death duels, but also was this amazing philosopher. I just want to be able to pick his brain. So he can slice me in half. That's fine, as long as I get to ask him some questions.
I got you, Ethan. What role do you think fighters should play in as an example for people, especially young guys? Whether it's guys your age or our age. What example do you think they should serve?
I think that fighters are some of the best examples of like discipline and integrity, especially for younger people who are looking up to combat sports or looking for any sort of role model. And I think, especially at Iron Forge, they're some of the best people to look up to, or be inspired by, or whatever. Sorry, could you like elaborate a little bit? I'm trying to like think.
Yeah. So like, and what you said is great, but how I'm thinking about it is, I know people look at fighters differently depending on who they are, how close they are to the sport. I know when we go to, just going to your event that we had not too long ago, your first amateur fight, I'm sitting in the crowd, and there's all types of people in the audience. There's guys who, they just wear the tap out t-shirt and with the beer gut, and they're just, drinking. They just love to be around it, but they don't fight themselves. Then there's guys who get inspired to go and fight, that kind of thing. Or maybe they're former fighters or whatever, but there's always just the spectator. For somebody who has no aspirations of getting into it, but they can still appreciate the art. for the uninitiated, let's say, what is there still something to learn from what we're going through now?
That's that's a hard question for me to answer.
Mm.
Maybe because I'm only looking at it one way.
Mhm.
I think that for anyone who comes to an event to watch someone or to watch people fight, it's kind of like when you think back to like the Roman gladiators and stuff like that. That
Mhm.
was their entertainment or whatever, and that was for survival.
Mhm.
But now when there's all these fights, they're just trying to make money. And so I think the best example I can set for them is, I don't know why this is so hard for me to answer. I'm trying
Okay,
to.
take your time. Take your time.
No, yeah.
And maybe that is a lot of pressure. Maybe that
Maybe.
maybe to be a fighter. When I first started, I wasn't doing it for anybody else but myself. You know what I mean? I had my weak moments. I had moments where I felt like I couldn't protect myself or anybody that I loved. So I felt like I knew I had to do something. You know what I mean? Like boxing was my first art. And then I got into kickboxing and then a little bit of judo and then, it grew into karate and now Kudo and that kind of stuff. So even when I had people come and watch me in my competitions, I never worried about anybody else but myself, you know? So I feel like a lot of fighters might be in the same boat where they're not trying to be somebody's role model. They're not really trying to be, aspiring to be, somebody's Superman or a Wonder Boy Thompson or a Spider Silva and that kind of thing. Maybe they're just doing what they feel is right and they feel like for themselves. We already know that something's wrong with us because we're like getting punched in the
Mhm.
head and submitted and figuring out, how can I choke this guy out in a minute flat, that kind of thing. But, people are going to look at you regardless. People are going to use you as an example of something regardless. Even if you weren't fighting, if you were just a guy that went to work or a guy that was in high school and they put their own expectations on you. Maybe that's the thing is that, you're tall, you're strong, they expect you to be in something. But
Mhm.
when you do it, what are you doing it for?
I'm doing it for myself mostly.
Mhm.
And no, let me backtrack.
Sure.
My buddy passed away in 2020,
Hmm.
and that was like kind of the extent of my rough patch with my mental health and my anger issues and whatnot.
Mm.
And I had promised him at his casket that I would do better. And there
Hmm.
was no specific anything. It was just that I would do better.
Hmm.
And so I think every time I fight, he's in the back of my mind of pushing me to be better.
Mm.
And whether that's in the ring or outside of the ring. So
Hmm.
I fight for him in that promise I made, but I also fight for myself to be better
Hmm.
in all aspects of life. And so if I unintentionally become some sort of role model, then I'd be thankful for that because I want to be the example that people see.
Right.
Definitely. Nah, that's amazing.
Hmm.
Mm.
And that's what I was kind
And
of looking at it as. You do end up becoming something for somebody else, even if you're doing it for yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
and
Great,
kind of
Travis.
approaching from the outside, like a spectator who maybe has no ambition of getting in the ring or fighting or anything like that. I think one thing that anybody can take away from seeing a fighter go through the process is discipline. Is it If they were to take that same discipline that a fighter has in their craft, in training, training day in and day out, trying to take care of their body, having to cut weight, having to make sure you get enough sleep, having to make sure you get the reps in, all of these different things, how disciplined the fighter has to be to get to their goal. If just the average man was to add that into his life, in just one aspect of his life, whether it be work or family or whatever it may be, if he was to just take 10% of that discipline that a fighter has, he will be successful in whatever he's doing.
Hmm.
I truly believe that because the amount of discipline, the amount of concentration it takes for guys to do what you're doing, Ethan. It takes almost an abnormal amount of focus to stay on path, to not get distracted by, especially being 18, man. I would have been so fucking distracted. I'm not even gonna lie. Just women, just a woman walking by me would have been like, I'd have been getting punched in the face every time a girl walked by the window. Like, bow, fuck, damn. But but just the amount of focus it takes to do what you're doing. If the average guy who never wanted to fight just added that into his life in just certain aspects, he would be successful in that. If you put that into work, if you put that into school, if he put that into his relationships, those things in his life would do nothing but elevate. I truly believe that. So I think even the things that we learn as fighters, the discipline, the ethics, the code of honor that we talk about so much. That's why we talk about so much, because it transfers over into the rest of your life. It's like, just like bad habits, bleed into the rest of your life. These things we pick up in martial arts and in fighting and combat, they bleed over into the rest of our lives in a lot of cases, or they can if we use it the right way.
That's like I saw this one interview with I think it was Tom Platz, the bodybuilder, after he retired, and he was talking about how he put that same amount of discipline that he put into bodybuilding into getting every single rep, and he put that into his new job. And just having that same mindset with the discipline and pushing through even when you don't want to in his job, he was able to skyrocket through the ranks and start making money or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how the interview went, but that's the best example I can find. Like, if fighting doesn't work out and I'm 30 and I got nothing going on, I'll put my discipline and I'll put it into school, and I'll put it into something else that I'm super interested in. And so I think that's something that I'm glad people can see that and feel inspired with seeing the discipline and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So it makes it sound old even saying this, but nowadays, guys are facing a lot different challenges than even. I'm just thinking, like, even when I was your age, when I was 18, is like the challenges I was facing are similar but different than the guys who are 18 now. It's like, because both Em and I can remember a time before, like I said, it makes me sound old as fuck. Before the internet and then having the internet, is like we've had both of those instincts. I was just talking to my mom the other day about back when they had pagers, which made me laugh. But a lot of guys
do you know what a pager is, Ethan?
Like, I know of it. Okay, I was born in 2006. All right. So,
he's like, I've seen one.
Right.
I've seen one somewhere
on
in a museum.
But a lot of guys are facing a whole different set of challenges now, as they're growing up and coming and coming of age and like stepping from boys into having to become men and figuring their life out. And a lot of us, we haven't had maybe examples or the certain type of guidance that we would have liked to become the men we want to be. What would you say are some of the pitfalls that a lot of guys your age are like really kind of starting to face now? Because we talk about the red pill and how it's almost like a shift in society where it's like these two extremes. It's like it's either guys are trying to teach guys like, hey, this is how you pick up women, and you should have you should be having spinning plates, 30 girlfriends, going on a date every night and sleeping with all the women, and don't worry about what her name is. You're not gonna call her anyway. And be that guy that walks around with his chest out and is ready to fight, the drop a hat. Don't let anybody disrespect you. Punch everybody in the face, whatever it may be. And then you have the other side where it's like society almost wants men to be like women, like a masculine version, like a Mrs. Doubtfire type situation. It's like a man in a woman's body type deal where it's don't be aggressive, all the things that we are as fighters. Don't be aggressive. Don't be that guy that kind of like really stands up for yourself and is forceful. um, you know, doesn't allow people to disrespect him, stands up for other people. A lot of the things that make guys are almost kind of more frowned upon in certain circles of the world now. Is like so. We talk about from our point of view, like some of the challenges that guys are facing now. What would you say are like some of the top challenges that you see, like some guys around your age range, like facing now, and what advice would you give them to kind of like avoid falling in those pitfalls?
I think the biggest thing right now is what I see with people my age is
Mm.
who they put themselves around.
Mm.
And I'm very particular with who I put myself around and who I hang out with for a lot of reasons. But I think, a lot of people my age, they start getting into, partying or
Yeah.
girls especially. They let girls distract them. Or I don't know. I think because there's also this huge thing of like guys post on social media and they pretend to hate themselves, or they really do, and they post about their body dysmorphia and lifting because
Really?
it's like a
Huh.
whole thing where they post about like how small they are on social media and just like
Mm.
lifting whatever, and they put their self-image down for views on social media. And I think social media is a big part that's kind of affecting
That's a
some of
huge landmine.
these
Huge land.
people my age. Yeah. And so I was really scared to start with social media because I see all these posts about all these guys doing whatever. But I eventually started it, and I'm posting a lot more now and stuff. But
Question for you on that, on the dysmorphia. Do you think a lot of the guys who are posting that, are they doing it because a huge majority of the population post on social media not for themselves but to get attention? Do you think it's an attention seeking thing that they're doing that for, or is it something like they just have to have, because they don't have a group of guys that they can actually have these conversations with, these real conversations like, bro, I'm struggling with this thing. I don't like myself. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. And actually having somebody to have those conversations with, so they just put it out on the internet, hoping that they get some kind of
Screaming into the void.
get something from exactly, get something from that. Or do you think it's more of an attention thing for a lot of those guys?
I think it's a bit of both because
Okay.
there is the thing with like trends on social media where
Mhm.
it's trending to pretend like you hate yourself for views, but also there's the people who post it because they really want to find people who find it relatable and maybe they can help
Yeah.
them in whatever ways. But it usually just ends up being like a rabbit hole of, oh, it's cool to hate, to pretend to hate myself and drag my self image down or whatever.
Almost a spiral, because you get attention because
Yeah.
you're doing that, so you do more of
Yep.
that, and you end up probably almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you didn't hate yourself before, you might end up actually hating yourself if you do that long enough.
Because I believe you speak in a truth with how you talk about yourself. And
Facts.
I always talk about myself positively, or I do my best to, at least. I've got everyone calling me fat at my gym when I'm cutting weight and stuff because I cheated one time on my cut. But but that'll always be jokes, and I know deep
Yeah.
down that I'm not, and I am who I am.
Yeah.
And I always try and think positively. But I think that's what a lot of kids struggle with, is they struggle with how they put themselves in perspective with themselves and others. So, yeah.
I
Would
think
you say
that
a big piece of that is they say there's a loneliness epidemic that's kind of kicking off? Would you say that a lot of guys are probably lonelier than they've ever been before? I mean, because you mentioned a lot of one thing you mentioned was the people that the guys hang around with. Honestly, man, I don't see a lot of guys actually hanging out like in person together as much anymore. It almost seems like a lot online. Like maybe they get together and play video games, or different things like that, or they're in groups maybe online, or in Discord, or wherever they wherever they group up. But I don't see a lot of guys like even just out and about. I don't see a lot of guys in groups of guys. I don't see a lot. I see a lot of groups of women still, but I don't see a lot of groups of guys just hanging out in a lot of cases. Like, even when you go out to eat, or you go to the, Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever it may be, I used to see a lot of guys hanging out, watching the game, having beer, drinking, eating and stuff like that. I don't see a lot of that anymore. I'm not also in some of those places, but
Yeah. I think there's a possibility that could go back to like the whole like self-image thing, especially with those people who only hang out on like Discord or whatever. They never have their camera, they never show their face, and they have this whole facade they put on online. And then when they go out in public, it's like you can't put on this fake version of you because you're in public,
Yeah.
And but also I think a lot of it is a lot of people are very focused on a lot of different things right now, especially at my age, with trying to do school and stuff. I know me and my friends, we kind of haven't been able to hang out in a while because everyone's doing school, everyone's busy, everyone's got their things going on. But
Adulting.
I do kind of agree though. I feel like I see a lot less friend groups hanging out in public anymore or doing whatever. So,
Ethan, who do you look up to?
It's okay to say me. It's okay.
I think you look up to me. All right.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Oh boy.
Just so you know, I don't fight fair. I cheap shot. I'll wait till you're not looking.
Oh my god!
Throw a ninja star at you.
That
was good. That was good. Touche, sir. Touche. Fuck, that was good.
I think there's a lot of people I look up to. I look up to my dad in the ways that he's helped me become. My dad, I think I get my level-headedness from my dad. I'll start with that.
Mm-hmm.
He inspires me to be a better person in the way that I'm level-headed and I'm always calm. He doesn't put his stress out on anyone, but he's also able to vocalize how he's feeling and all that. But then I have the people I look up to in my gym. My coach, I look up to him like he's like my second dad. I've got Mario, who's like a brother to me, and I can talk to him about these issues I have, and he's never one to judge. I have Ed to hang out with and talk to. I look up to him because I see his family and what he's created with his life, and that inspires me to be better too. There's so many people, and that's why I talk about who I put myself around, because I have all these inspiring people that I want to be like, and even I want to be better than them, because that's very important to me. Right. I think right now the biggest person I look up to right now is definitely my dad, I'd say. So
yeah, man. Nice. I appreciate that. Because it is, you definitely feel when you become a dad, you feel the pressure of like being able to see your kid watch you and all the things that you do. So it makes you kind of, if you've never had that accountability as a man previously, having a kid, if you do it right, definitely puts that on you. Thank you for that. And then, because JD is definitely everybody else's like dad. He definitely gives off that dad vibe to the other kids, the other juniors, even some of the adults. Because it's like, if you don't have somebody who is trying to push you outside of your comfort zone on a constant basis and put you in those uncomfortable spots, like it's not just the fight for your life drills. It's not just the hour of straight sparring. It's like, I do get to do this in a place where everybody loves me. Everybody wants me to do well. They want to push me to be, 6-time, 7-time champ and all this other kind of stuff. And it's a safe environment. It's a safe pressure cooker, which I think is rare for a lot of folks. You know what I mean? To have a healthy circle to be around, which is why we have the Legion, our community group where, we can kind of impart those things to them, because, me and Travis met in at another circle. It was kind of like, before I got into doing this with him, I was saying that I had 2 power circles, because I had the group that I met him in and I had you guys at the gym. So, it was like that external and internal kind of thing. And I want to be able to pass that on to people, and not just people in our business and stuff like that, but definitely to my son. Find yourself people who you can be around that will not only make you uncomfortable, but they will show you that grace and love at the same time, because it's only to be the best version of you. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, man, you pushed me too. We had lots of conversations coming home from Iowa where it was like, What
Yeah.
is it that we have to do to not only help each other, but to be the best version of ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
And especially outside the gym, because like, yeah, learning how to choke each other out and all that stuff is fun, but but who are you going to be when you get to the outside? Are you going to be able to take, more than just the lesson of how to throw something, or how to do a takedown? Like, what is it that you got from that person energetically, or even, um, as something that can help you along the way? You know what I mean? I've collected so much stuff and people from different gyms that I've been at, where like I prefer to party with them or be friends with them or go on trips with them than, like family sometimes. You know what I mean? Like being able
Mm-hmm.
to go to Mexico and Japan and Colombia and all these places, like with a team. That's where else are you gonna get that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite things about Iron Forge. It's just they are my second family, and the way that we, train together and compete together. You form this bond with them that becomes unbreakable, and sometimes you do like want to hang out with them instead of other people because you're with them every single day, and they're pushing you to be better, and you're pushing them to be better.
Yeah,
Um,
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So Ethan, where do you see yourself in 5 years? You know, minus like wins or losses or anything like that. As a martial artist, as a man, where do you see Ethan five years from now? What would you say?
I definitely want to start a family at some point. I want to have a nice big house. I want to have some kids. I want to have my animals. I want to be able to still see my family, consistently.
Hmm.
I'm gonna, hopefully stay with this friend group from high school that I've grown really close with. Um, but most of all, I want to be a better person than I am now.
Mm.
That's always been the goal, is to be as good of a person as I can be, every
Mm,
single day, and whether that's in 5 years or 20 years, I want to be an example for my past self.
Nice. Nice.
100%, man. Okay.
What about fight wise? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? You see yourself rocking that belt
Yeah,
at
I'm
least
I'm rocking
one.
that belt. I'm
It's-
on one championship. I'm traveling a lot. Um, I really, really, really know that I will make it because nobody has this passion that I do with fighting.
Mm.
Um, I will be having that belt, and
Mm.
we will be looking back at this podcast in 5 years, and you guys will get famous off of it.
Man, I
For sure.
speak affirmation into it for sure. But
Right.
for me, it's not about the fame. Yeah, I just want to help
Mhm,
people overall. I've been able to travel even before I was trying to use the martial arts for that. Being able to travel and talk to people, and that's, to me, that's the cool part. Is like
mhm,
finding somebody in some quiet corner of the world that I've never met and probably doesn't even speak English that well, but still being able to have some type of connection with them where I can give a little bit of something to them, they can give something to me, and like that's just how we make the world a little bit smaller. And I thank God for YouTube and all that kind of stuff, but because it does it makes the world smaller. You can literally find anybody by searching them, you know what I mean, or just
mhm,
coming across them on your feed, but they might have something for you that you need in that moment, or they have a it's not just the technique or the course or the community and all that, but like maybe just the short that we have where you say something cool and it's kind of doesn't mean that much to you, but to them it's like, oh shit, this is the sign that I needed to kind of get my life in order, and so that they can go off and do that thing for somebody else. you
mhm.
know so
Yeah.
but any last questions or thoughts anybody has? This has been a great interview, man. I think it's been phenomenal. Glad
Yeah.
we got to train this
Yeah.
morning. Glad you guys
Oh
got to
yeah.
meet. Any final words from anybody? you know
Um, I think I'll speak on Men's Mental Health Month.
Hmm.
Uh,
Sure.
I'm a huge advocate for mental health, and you know, I just find someone to talk to. I think,
Yep.
and you are more important than you feel like you are. Um,
Hmm.
there's always going to be someone who will listen, there's always gonna be someone to talk to, and there's much more for you in this life than taking it. So
Mm,
I wanna end on
facts.
that note. I think.
Facts. Yeah, man. It's super important now, man. Unfortunately, we got some numbers recently that the number of just like military veterans like committing suicide on a daily basis actually increased from I think like I think it was 22 a day to now it's like in the 40s or something crazy like that.
Hmm.
Um,
Mhm.
and that's just military. We're not even talking about civilian guys and different things like that. And a lot of it is guys. Younger, older. There's not a set age category where this thing affects only this set of guys. It's all through from from young teen guys to guys in their 60s, man, are struggling in a lot of ways with these things. And I think one thing we covered that's really big into it is um, start using your body. Start using your body, not abusing your body. Start using your body.
Yeah.
Go out, walk, go hike, get into the gym, go find a dojo, find an outlet to actually start to use and move your body. It sets off the endorphins in your brain. It's one of the best ways that they have found for depression is exercise. If
Yeah.
you're not exercising, if you're just sitting in your house, by yourself, feeling lonely, not eating what you need, not eating well, not living well, and just sitting in that space, man, don't stay there. Get out and actually do something. Get out and actually use your body. If you can't do anything else, just go for a walk. Like I said, you got to shift the way you're thinking because um, a lot of us, unfortunately, will make a permanent decision off of a temporary feeling is like
Yeah.
a lot of it's just getting past this moment that this terrible moment that you're having right now to the guys I'm talking to is not going to last. You're not going to have this same moment today that you're having tomorrow. It's a completely different day. It's a completely different moment. It's not going to be the same.
Mhm.
Get all you got to do is get through this moment. It's gonna it may feel dark, it may feel like you can't get out of it, it may feel like you're struggling with it. Just pushing past this moment, just taking your time and going through this moment, doing what you got to do to get through this moment. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry about what happened in the past. All you got to worry about is right now. Do what
Mhm.
you ever you need to do to get through this moment, whether it be calling somebody, going to the gym, getting out of your own head and getting out of the space that you're in right now. Get out of this space. If you're in here right now, in your house, in your room, wherever the fuck you are, dealing with what you're dealing with, get out of that space and go somewhere else. Change your
Mhm.
environment. It'll change your mind. Make that shift and just keep fighting, man. That's the biggest thing, So reach out to us. If you don't have it, if you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, I've been there. I've had my experiences, too many, unfortunately. But I went through those so that now I can talk to guys who are going through those situations now, to a certain
Mhm.
extent. I'm actually grateful for the shit I went through because it made me who I am. So I can actually, hopefully, be there for some guys who are experiencing some of those same things. And like I said, in those moments, I didn't know I was going to make it through, but I know now why I was going through those moments, and it was for a reason. It was for a purpose. And like Ethan said, man, you are worth more than you think you are. You're here for a reason, bro. Out of billions of sperm, you managed to make it to that egg, bro. It's like that's for a reason. That's not you're not a fucking accident. There are no accidents in this world. It's like it's like so. Yeah, man. Just keep pushing, guys. Keep your head up, and let's keep fighting this fight, man, because it's important. We all got to watch Ethan win that belt. You guys can't shit.
Yeah. You take that champion mindset and you go get your own belt. You know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
keep being inspirational. But man, this has been fantastic as always. Thank you again, Ethan, for sitting down with us. There'll be many more in the future. And also, they're definitely going to be seeing you during our series about Path to 100, which is us trying to not figure out, sorry. We're going to be sitting down with other coaches and influencers and instructors and kind of getting their perspective on things too. But all the while, we're going to be posting content from the gym. So, you guys will be seeing more of Ethan in the sparring and training clips for sure. We're getting ready to go to Bulgaria. So, that'll be super awesome for that same international competition. That'll be happening in a couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that content too. You
I'm
can
gonna give
find
me a
us.
ladder, so next time I see
Yes.
Ethan, he can look up to me.
Yeah, man. Ethan,
But yeah.
anything you wanna plug? In your Instagram or anything like that?
Yeah, my Instagram, Ainsworth.mma, my TikTok, Ainsworth.mma. I post as much as I can. If you wanna, follow my journey, definitely give it a follow.
Mhm.
And if anything, shoot me a message. I love talking to people, if you want to
Nice.
talk about anything. So
So
yeah.
now, when's
sure.
you got a schedule for the next fight, or is that not decided yet?
So I think right now, currently, I'm gonna fight in Bulgaria. And
Okay.
then I'm gonna give myself definitely a month or two because I've been in fight camp for like 6 months now. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You got to
So
rest the
I'm
body
gonna
a little
give
bit.
myself a little bit of time, like 2 months, and then I'll go from there and kind of see what's next.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool, man.
Awesome.
So we'll definitely update you guys as soon as we hear something. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right,
100%.
tell them where they can
So
find us, Evan.
yeah, so you can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube podcasts, YouTube here, of course. We're also on X, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Facebook group is popping. We're going to be planning on doing more lives as well within that space, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, man, anywhere where you can listen to podcasts, anywhere where you can watch podcasts, and check us out. You'll see more of Ethan. You'll see more of other guys that we have from the gym, but also the gyms that we go to as we travel. Best believe when we get to Bulgaria, we're going to be poking some of these other, Kudo instructors and things like that, and figuring out how we can get them on here as well. So we're expanding, man. We're going global. Check it out soon.
Yep. All right, guys. So take it easy. Like I said, thanks again for joining us. Definitely rewatch this, man, because I think there's definitely some gems in this. And reach out to Ethan, man. Give him a like, give him a follow. Definitely follow this guy because he's definitely going places, not just in the ring, but in life in general. Can't wait to see the amazing shit that he's gonna do. So it's gonna be dope, man. But remember, guys, keep your heads up. Stay in the fight. Even fighting through those dark times, man. Just keep your head up, keep going. Find a reason, find a way to keep going. Even if you got to reach out to somebody, or just find a way to shift your perspective in that moment. Because at the end of the day, man, you'd rather be a warrior in a garden.
In a garden of war. Like, share, and subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.